Hi there, and welcome to Dork Wars Live, your galactic hub for all things Star Wars. And I'm your host, Blake. I don't have any of the other Dork Wars podcast hosts on tonight, and that's okay. First off tonight, though, we have an interview with a very special author, Vera Sam. So let's welcome Vera Sam, everybody. What's going on?
What's up, buddy? How's it going?
Pretty good, pretty good. So Samuel here has a comic called There's an Alien in My Toilet, and it is a fun and fancy free kind of comic. Um, it's not adult, but it's fun to read. It's fun to look at. And tell us a little bit about your project.
Sure. His name is Duty. He's from Uranus, and he's sent here on a recon mission to determine if Earth's a threat to his homeworld. And really, it's to get uh, General Goldie, who's the general of the army of Uranus, has the burden of babysitting Duty because his father's the emperor. So he sends Duty on a fool's errand, but makes him think that it's a top secret mission.
Right.
Because Duty's a handful. He's a teenager. He has a lot to live up to with his father's expectations. So Duty thinks that he's the only one capable of handling this mission. And so he heads off to Earth. In his haste, he forgets to refuel and he crash lands. And from the moment he gets here, he has to now survive Earth's simple creatures, whether it's from wolves to woodpeckers to squirrels. Um, and in this issue two, he encounters red ants, which he assumes are ninja, and he becomes a samurai in his imagination. And he's encounters some squirrels, and there's a government agency, We Are Not Alone Incorporated, that are tracking this downed UFO. So there's a lot that happens in this episode.
Awesome. So, how did you come up with Duty? How did you come up with Alien in My Toilet? What was the thought process? I mean, how were you just sitting at home having a cup of coffee in the morning? Were you in the shower? What was going on?
I was actually driving through the Lincoln Tunnel in from New York to New Jersey, and he popped in my head. He said, "Hi, I'm Duty from Uranus," and I went to IHOP and met some of my buddies. I said, there's an alien on my toilet. His name is Duty. I started designing his look,
Right.
and that was the beginning of the series from that point on. And initially, it was going to be a comic strip, but I decided to do it as a comic book.
Okay. All right. That's awesome. So with Duty, with all this, how many issues are you planning on going? Do you have a set story, or are you coming up with it as you go along? Like what's the thought process there?
The first arc is 10 issues. So the punchline of the
Okay.
with the title, the significance of the toilet, you won't know till the 10th issue. And the story goes on from that point on, but it's almost like chapters, right? So it's 10 issues in the
Right.
first chapter, the way I look at it, or the first volume. And uh there's a series of things that has to happen before it kicks off. And then from that point on, um I have the stories written up for at least 100 episodes.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
So you've put a lot of time into this. You've put a lot of yourself into this.
Yes.
And is this your main project? Is the Alien in My Toilet your main project?
It is my baby. I've done other books. I have a fantasy book called Forbidden. I have a book called Cast of Crazies. I have a series of children's books, but this is the one that I'm focusing on for the foreseeable future. Really want to build on the character and on the brand itself. It's more than just a comic book. It's for me. It's an experience. Every issue of There's an Alien on My Toilet has 4 pages of trivia, activities, puzzles. Um,
Wow.
critical thinking questions to encourage learning, to encourage working with others, and playing with others, and to make the story an experience. So it helps the reader dive into the series with the engagement of the puzzles and all that stuff. And there's also a trading card game that I'm developing. The volume 2 set of cards are available on this campaign as well. But then there's also Duty's Adventures, which is Duty as a child growing up on Uranus, which is a children's book that's also available on this Kickstarter. So you can start from the ages 2 on up, from the children's book to the comic book. It's all ages. It's fun, and there's a lot of layers to this.
Yeah, and reading the first issue, and reading what you've come up with, it's very wholesome. It's not so enough. You want your kids to read this. It's a fun read. I enjoyed myself being 29 years old. I enjoyed myself reading this issue. I think that Sam here has come up with a great product. Um, so you have ten chapters so far in this arc,
Yeah.
and you have 100 chapters. So you've definitely put in the time and the work. So where can we find There's an Alien in My Toilet?
Well, right now I have the Kickstarter running. I have 18 days left of this Kickstarter. So if you missed the first Kickstarter for issue number one, you can get the back issue on this Kickstarter. So this is for issue number two, but the other issues available as well. So right now it's available there. Then it's also available. It'll be available on my website, dutiesworld.com, which is an all-encompassing. So it's going to be art that you won't find in the book of Duty. You have character designs, bios, animated clips that we're working on. You'll see some of the prototype toys, and so it's all encompassing. And there's also going to be a subscriber section of the website where you want to know the answers to all the trivia questions and see if you were right with the puzzles and everything.
Right.
You'll be able to sign up on the website and get access to a specific page to get all those answers.
Wow. That's awesome. I like the interactive part of this because it's not just reading the story, it's getting involved, and you're trying to get people involved in your story.
Yeah.
So the character of Duty, the main character, where does that come from? Is that something you just made up one day? Is it someone you know? Is it, you know,
There's a little
there's a
duty in
laugh. It's
all of
gonna be
us, right? So, so,
to say the
so
least, yes.
to say the least, right? So, I grew up on Jim Henson, right? The Muppets,
Yeah.
Fraggle Rock, The Dark Crystal, Star. I grew up on, the Star Wars, Lucas. I was a big fan of Alf. Looney
Yeah.
Tunes, Marvin the Martian. So there's a lot of influences from everywhere, and I believe that's creatives are basically you basically going to you're adding to the next chapter in
Right.
creativity because of the previous masters, right? So
That's right.
so I get a lot of influence from a lot of different places, and so you'll see that in Duty. I like dry sense of humor. I like comedy. I like slapstick. I
Yeah.
love sci-fi, and Duty's all those things. I just have, and it's the one character that's in my portfolio that I truly love to draw and create with.
That's awesome. And so you like to draw and create. Is there any other projects other than Duty? Do you create other things?
Yeah, so I started out when I decided to come back into because I left comics for a long time, and when I decided to come back 2 years ago, I came back with my fantasy series called Forbidden. It's a 160-page graphic novel, it's completely done, um,
Right.
and that's also available as an add-on in this Kickstarter as well. Um,
Awesome.
and So that's more adult, right? It's more fantasy
Yeah.
based. And then I also have Catch the Crazies, which Catch the Crazies basically is loosely based on my story and my co-host George Medina on Catch the Crazy podcast. And it basically tells the story of how we started out in comics and we started on podcasting and we're very successful. I leave for 10 years. George stood in comics, but there was a void, right? So there was
Right.
this journey to come back. So I decided to come back. We meet up and we launch Catch the Craze, but we're not as successful as we were 10 years ago. So my character goes into the woods, shouts out to the universe, help us be the best podcast in the universe. And they answer
Yeah.
in the form of the crazy man, this bell bottom wearing hippie with an afro, who comes from the seven realms, and he brings these wacky little minions called the crazies, and they start whacking humans over the head with microphones, and now you're addicted to the show. So it takes
Wow.
off, and we get thousands and thousands of subscribers. But now society's walking around like zombies, addicted to our show. So now we're under investigation because they're like, "What's going on with this pandemic?" And so now we have to try to catch the crazies and send them back to where they came from and stop this madness. So the punchline is, "Be careful what you wish for, lest it come true." So yeah, so
Right.
I have those, and then I have a series of children's books as well. But because they're all done, I won't be working on anything other than There's an Alien in My Toilet for the next few years.
Right. And I like that this is kind of an all ages thing. Like whether you could be 2 to 92 and you're going to enjoy this comic. I enjoyed this comic so far.
Thank you.
I really like the thought process behind it. I like the creativity. This is something that is out of the box. You know, it's not the run of the mill comic. You know, you got a superhero or you have this gritty character. This is just a fun place to be, a fun world to live in. So as far as like the whole world of there's an alien in my toilet is what kind of world building is there in this? Is it just present day? Is it a
Oh,
what is it?
it's all encompassing. I mean, so there's so many layers to it. So there's also a guidebook to Duty's World, right? So there's a 24-page book where you get a look into at least some of the characters in the series that you'll learn about in the future issues of Disneyland in My Toilet. So the guidebook goes hand in hand with the trading card game, right? So the game won't be fully launched to the end of next year. So you'll get an insight into the gameplay and the characters to come. So there's an organization called We Are Not Alone Incorporated. There's a government agent named Doe who's after duty. There is a ghost busting team called No Boo for You. Catching Ghosts is what we do. Right? They're hired because of Duty gets into a house and the family thinks that there's a ghost in the house. They don't know what's going on with the house, so they hire a ghost busting team.
Yeah.
Um, uh, there's Ken Catchem, right? So there's a Chihuahua named Herman, and Ken Catchem is a dog napping organization that kidnaps Herman before he even got into this house. So there's a lot of layers. Then there's the 3Ds, Daisy, Dottie, and Dee Dee. They're the girls. One of them's in love with Duty, and they're worried about Duty because he left Uranus, and they haven't heard from him. So they want to find out what happened to him. There's the General Goatee. Then there's a lot of villains. So there's
Yeah.
a lot of layers to the story. But then there's also the backstory. So in Duty's adventures, growing up on his homeworld, it starts off with him being bullied in school, and who hasn't been bullied in school, right? So
Right.
Duty's imagination, he becomes a superhero, and his bully becomes his arch nemesis, the
Right.
diabolical egomaniac overlord nemesis Poo Poo. So he has to do battle with him, and so you'll learn about what makes Duty tick, what's his motivation, how he becomes who he is, and why he refuses to admit defeat, and he's always talking smack.
That's amazing. So, Annabelle Ario, I hope I'm pronouncing that right, is
Arroyo,
in
yeah,
our in our chat. And welcome. Thank you for joining us on Dork Wars Live tonight. Ask Sam about Tijuana.
no,
So no,
no, no.
we can't. We try to keep it PG to
Yeah,
PG
yeah, we keep
13
it
on
at
this
PG.
podcast.
Yeah, no, no, no Tijuana. I didn't go to Tijuana. That's the story. They
Right.
went to Tijuana. I refused to go. Yes, yeah. We at San Diego Comic Con, a group of us.
Yeah.
Just like a bunch of artists, and it'd be like 8 of us in a room. And so at night, these guys want to go to Tijuana, and I'm like, I'm too smart for that, right? I'm very aware of the elements that are around at night. I'll go in the day to the tourist centers, right? To where
Yeah.
all the tourists are, where the federales are, because I know those guys with machine guns, at least they got my back. I'm not worried about them. I'm worried about the ones that you don't know who they are. So these guys wanted to go party at night, and I faked a stomach pain. And I said, no, I don't feel so good. And they went on their own, and I decided to stay at the hotel. And I don't know if I don't know if it was Waterberg. I don't know what it was, but I just had fun just watching movies at the hotel while they went. So that was.
That's amazing. So, just listening to you talk about all the different characters in this story, you have literally just gone in piece by piece. Every character has a backstory. Every character kind of has their own thing going on. How long has it taken you to come up with this story? So, you're on issue 2
Seven
and
issues are completely illustrated. So the first
okay,
7 issues are completely illustrated. Issue 2 is on the Kickstarter right now.
right.
Um, and the graphic novel, which would be the first 5 issues, will launch at the end of the year. Um, and so basically, it's always evolving. So because when I decided to create the game, the trading card game, is when at that time I had about maybe 40 characters in the series. Um, there's over 100 characters now. So when I,
That's amazing.
and so then that's an undertaking on its own. right? So just
Right.
creating gameplay is a because you have to have spreadsheets and stories and strengths and weaknesses and all these other things and how they link together and all that stuff. So it just evolved. So so all these new ideas started popping in my head, which is why I have up to 100 stories prepared for the series. Because there's so many layers and there's so many different adventures that Duty goes on. This his first encounter on Earth is not his only encounter, but this one is significant because it forms who he is. There's a Chihuahua in issue number 4. His name is Herman, who thinks Duty's a talking jalapeno. So there's this rivalry between those two. And then there's the son Bobby who believes he saw an alien in the toilet and he's obsessed and he's trying to convince his dad. And his dad becomes the butt of jokes, but with his friends because they're having poker night, and the son's like, "I saw an alien in the bathroom." And so there's all these things that happen, and then it spills over to his work, right? To the dad's work. So he's at the office now. He's like the butt of jokes. So there's a lot of different layers and elements to the story, and it's just fun. So
Yeah.
each character has a purpose in the story.
Yeah. And it seems like it. It seems that you put a ton of thought process into this. How long ago? When did this idea come to you? Like what time? What year was it? Was it pre
2005.
2005? So you got to think that's a 17 years
Yeah,
of thought and work and process. And you have to honor something like that. That's an amazing dedication to a character, an amazing dedication to a story. And Luna Girl is in our chat. She asked, "Where can we find these comics? What is the best way to reach There's an Alien in My Toilet?"
on Kickstarter, there's an alien on my toilet right now. There's a link. I can provide you the link in the private chat.
Yeah, go on,
So you can
pass it to me. We'll put it in the chat.
yeah. Yeah. So if you go on Kickstarter, and anybody who, any physical backers anybody who backs it watching this show, um, will get, if it's a physical backer, you'll get this magnet of Super Duty and the Diabolical Egomaniac Overlord Nemesis Poo. And this is a 3-inch by 4-inch magnet. So if you backed it tonight, you'll get this physically. If you backed it digitally, you'll get a digital print of this as a thank you. So just for watching this show. And
Awesome.
if you haven't subscribed to this channel, subscribe too. That's even better.
Awesome. 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 Yes, it seems like this is an all-encompassing work. You've put a lot of work into it, and we thank you for being on the show. Thank you for coming and telling us about this.
Thank you
We're
for having
definitely
me.
going to back you. I'm going to read some more, of course. So I do have a question for you. Do
Yes,
you know anything about the Obi-Wan Kenobi show?
yes, I do.
You do. So
I've watched
if
every
you
episode.
want, yeah, awesome. So I'm going to put you on the backstage right now, and if you want to stay on and chat Kenobi with us, you're more than welcome to stay. We'd love to have you on.
Sure.
Yeah, awesome. So it's just more exposure, right? Just more exposure.
I'm a bold
But thank you.
Leia, but good.
Anything else you want to say about There's an Alien in Our Toilet? Just kind of a conclusion to the interview we've had so far.
So basically, this, if you love to laugh, if you love comedy, if you're a fan of, Marvin the Martian, Invader Zim, The Loud House, you'll enjoy this. It's endearing. He's a lovable character. And then there's everything from a coloring book to a guidebook to a full activity book that's also available. It's 24 pages of puzzles, how to draw Duty. It's a full interactive, a great way to get the kids into comics and also inspire education. So this is a full experience. Give it a shot. You're definitely gonna laugh, if not giggle, at least once. I promise.
Yeah, it really seems like it borders on like the kind of juvenile humor that we experience, but also there's a lot of layers. There's something to dig into, and that's something I can appreciate. So, thank you so much, Sam, for being on with us. We're
Thank
going to
you.
have you back when we start talking about Kenobi.
Sure.
That's going to be in a few minutes. Before we get to that, though, we do have a very special guest. So let's bring Samuel back to the backstage. We also tonight have another special guest, and that is the Wookiepedia website. I know that anyone that's in this chat who's listened to Star Wars or loves Star Wars, you have come across Wookiepedia. And tonight we have Jordan from Wookiepedia on with us. Jordan, are you there?
I am here. Can you hear me?
I hear you great. You're coming in loud and clear.
Thanks for having us on. We're happy to be here.
Yeah, of course. I mean, this is the Star Wars website. I can't think of any other website that I would go to for Star Wars anything because you guys have it all. And I don't know what kind of like membrane there is, what kind of like nervous center you guys have, but you are on the beat of all things Star Wars, anything Legends, anything canon, anything that was mentioned halfway in a book somewhere back in 1989. Like you guys have everything. And that is something that amazes me to keep up with all of that information. How do you guys do it? I know that's a big question to start off with, but how do you guys do it?
To be honest, there's really no easy way to do it because everything's all volunteer based. People tend to just work on what interests them.
Right.
By and large, it's just an amazing community that's made up of so many different people from around the world.
Wow. And that's amazing. So Wookiepedia is a global affair, it seems like. How many people work for or volunteer for Wookiepedia?
I would say
Roughly.
probably in any average day, there's upwards of 50 people that are regularly editing, and over the course of a month, you're probably looking at a couple of hundred when you include people who are just making a little typo fix while they're browsing or just making
Right.
a little tweak. But it's overall hundreds upon hundreds of people, thousands over the years.
Yeah, and Joker Voice is in the chat, and he sings slave labor. It's volunteer, Joker. You can't just throw whatever you want on that. That's kind of messed up. But I know that as a Star Wars fan, when I go and I read a book or I go and I watch a show, when I see like a character in the background, because Star Wars they have a story for everyone. If you've seen anyone in the background of any movie, any show, any book, I mean, there's a story behind that. And I know that Jordan, you know that more than anyone else, I'm sure.
That's an understatement.
So, I mean, how many articles are there out there on background characters that no one even thinks of looking up?
Off the top of my head, I can't answer that off the top of my head. It's overall though we have 175 as of right now. We have 175,719 actual articles on site.
Wow,
And that's overall.
That's astounding, and it's as big as Star Wars is. Like we know it's a big number, but how it's just to rein all that in. I feel like you should be hosting. You have so much encompassing knowledge of all of this stuff. So is there who really heads this up? Who delegates Wookiepedia?
So in terms of actual leadership, we have 11 of us that are considered administrators, and all that means is that we have access to a couple extra buttons. That's really the only difference between, say, myself and someone who just joins is just the experience and a couple of buttons. There's no actual delegation. We're all just collectively working towards this shared vision of for lack of a better term, a perfect Star Wars encyclopedia.
Yeah. And guys do a great job because I don't know that I've ever looked up something on Wookiepedia and then gone back and done other research and like, you know what? Wookiepedia does not have it. Wookiepedia is wrong. I've never said Wookiepedia is wrong. You guys have to be the foremost knowledge on Star Wars anything. So how long has Wookiepedia been around? What was the start date of Wookiepedia?
We were created back in, I believe it was March of 2005.
Wow.
We've been around a while.
Yeah. And it's as long as I can remember, as long as the internet's been accessible to me in a like, wait, I'm only 29. So as long as I've been able to like surf the web and really conscientiously know what I'm looking up, Wookiepedia has been there for me. And I was a kid that used to read all the Legends stuff. I read a bunch of stuff, and there's gaps, right? If you don't read everything like sequentially, there's gaps, and you have to go look at this and look at that. And I was always steered in the right direction. So, Jordan, what is your specialty? What do you work on at Wookiepedia?
I kind of tend to just float around. Whenever I'm actually writing, it tends to be either working on a group project for, say, a new release, like back during Book of Boba Fett, or something to do
Right.
with old Legends novels. Lately, I've been doing a lot more kind of technical background stuff, working on some dark mode fixes. When you're viewing Wikipedia and you're logged in, you can choose to view on either light mode or in dark mode. Trust me, dark mode saves your eyes. So I've been doing a lot of background work lately, trying to just tweak old templates, fix old instances, just so that people aren't physically hurt when they're looking at the site.
Right. And that's a big thing, because if I hurt when I look at something, I'm definitely turning it off. And we got extra Star Wars, extra techie in the chat, and he says Blake only knows cable internet. You are not lying. I still have a DSL connection. So it's amazing that you can even watch me right now. So Jordan, how long have you been with Wookiepedia?
I first started browsing probably around, I want to say 2007. 2008 was when I made an account, and other than a couple little kind of test things, I mostly just kept reading. I didn't really start editing until about 2011. And from
Right.
there, I just kind of went down this rabbit hole, and I just haven't come out yet. I have no intention of coming out.
I can imagine you in a room just looking up, like, what is Black Chrysanthemum's favorite cologne? And then just going down, and now you work for him. You're like, well, how did I even get here? Like, what happened? What, I can understand that, because that's how I am. When I start searching stuff on the internet, man, it just spirals out. And it seems that you somehow spiraled out and ended up in some kind of volunteer workforce that gives information on Star Wars.
Yeah, it just kind of kept spiraling from there. And then, from there, I've started to, I've connected with people who are working on other wikis. I've connected with people who are working on the fandom side of things, fandom being the company that hosts Wookiepedia, Memory Alpha, and probably any wiki site you've ever been to.
Yeah. Yeah, and you can tell all of those are connected. So you have those relationships with other wikis. What other wikis do you guys like hang out with and talk to?
So that kind of just varies person to person, but lately I've been working with a couple other sites, helping them with some dark mode fixes. One being Warrior Cats. It's an old novel series. I'm on the LGBTQIA wiki a lot as well. That's another project I'm helping with. And other than that, I just kind of hang out with a lot of people from other sites on the fandom Discord, where we kind of share some collaborative ideas. We share, say, what things we're doing on social media, what new ideas we have for experimentation. Just kind of collaboratively spitball, so to speak.
That's amazing. So it really seems to me that Wookiepedia, you guys are just kind of like, what are we doing next? We just flying by the seat of our pants, right? All of these new shows that come out. How do you get this information out so fast? Like, we're currently watching Obi-Wan Kenobi. We're on episode 4, is the last one that released. So how do your guys go in like day of and watch this show and just throw it out there on the internet? Like, what's the turnaround time on articles about these new shows?
Yeah, for anything that's from a new show, like anything major, typically I would estimate within 24 to 48 hours of show launch. Sometimes faster, like during Book of Boba Fett, for example. After the premiere, a few of us got together and we copied an article over into a Google Doc. We hopped on a voice call, and within like 2 hours, we had the entire article written for the Twi'lek Major Domo.
Wow.
And for the first episode of Kenobi, I was away I was just flying out that morning. And as I'm flying, I noticed in the recent changes feed that someone had, within a couple hours, already written up the entire article on that 501st Stormtrooper that we see in the background, homeless.
Wow. And so how do you come up with that background? I realize that we've seen him in that episode, and he's literally just like, hey, man, give me some money. What kind of background? I haven't actually read that article. Surprisingly, I'm surprised I didn't watch that show and like, man, who is this guy? But how do you get the backstory for this clone trooper?
Oh, here, let me just find the article quickly here.
Yeah, go for it.
Some of it is just based on deduction. So, like, you can look at the color of his armor. You can look at those little indicators, match those up with what
we know he's
Unity's
with the
from.
501st. Yeah.
Kenobi live action series. Part 1.
And just while you're getting that, I'm sure all of you have been to the Wookiepedia website. This is probably the most notable guest I've had on Dork Wars, the podcast live. Because I think everyone that's a Star Wars fan ever has been to your website, has come across it in some way or another. It's definitely a game changer in Star Wars fandom.
It really is, and it makes it's just so amazing that so many people can just come together to work on this one collaborative encyclopedia.
Yeah. And it seems like a group effort. It seems like you guys all have a very firm community, a very fun community. And it seems like just a great group to be a part of. So what's your experience like so far being a part of this group? The other guys or the girls, gals, people that are working on this encyclopedia.
It's one of the greatest experiences that I've ever had in my life. We all just have this common shared love of this franchise. And while we all might not like the same things, at the core of it, we all like the same thing, though. We all like Star Wars. I might not like a certain book. Someone else might not like a certain movie, but we still like the franchise.
Yeah.
And I just copied the article over into the private chat for you.
I see that. I'm trying to download it now. There we go. And that's something that I think that the greater Star Wars community kind of lacks. Sometimes we all fight and we just cannot see eye to eye on things. And there's things I don't like. I don't particularly like the sequel trilogy as a whole. You know, I don't particularly like the way they characterized Luke. I don't like, there's some things I don't like, but people who enjoy the sequel trilogy, I'm glad that they like Star Wars. I'm glad that they like those. Even though I don't enjoy it, I'm okay with them enjoying it. I actually encourage that. That's a gateway to the other Star Wars things. And here's the unidentified veteran clone trooper page for the Star Wars fandom. So I know we were talking about that before, Jordan. So what about that? How did we get this story?
So in terms of the actual biography, we know when the show actually takes place, and we know when this clone trooper is appearing here. Let me just pull it up. Yeah, so we have the show itself dated, so we know where it takes place in relation to other events. So that we know that puts it at 19 years before the Battle of Yavin.
Right.
Because all the clones were created on Kamino, we know that he was born on Kamino. We know his height based on the fact that they're all clones of the same individual.
So there's a lot of cookie cutter like stats that just go into a clone trooper anyway.
Yeah, there's a lot of little background things that we know are
sense.
true in other cases that we know are going to be true for this one as well.
So basically, we're kind of looking at like the end of the war until now. That's kind of the open space that we don't have a lot of information on.
Yeah, and it's going to be very interesting seeing where this show actually goes, because we're seeing how the galaxy is actually reacting to this new order.
Yeah. And I think we've got a lot of media from that. Kenobi's one. The Bad Batch is a fun one to watch because it's literally the Republic going from their free galactic republic to the Empire, and seeing that changeover in like a couple of weeks, which is fun in the Bad Batch, is to see that changeover. That was the first show. And funnily enough, it's animated, and there are some people who are like, man, it's an animated show, I'm not going to watch it, blah 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 blah. And if you haven't watched it, watch it anyways. I'm not saying I enjoyed every single episode, every single plot point, but seeing the Republic change into the Empire is a huge part of that show, and that is my favorite part of this show so far, is watching that changeover, because there is a humongous change, and people just kind of eat it up, because they're not really seeing much of a change in their daily lives, but there is a change in regime. So that's one of my fun and favorite things about the Bad Batch.
I'll just clarify also. I see Joker Voice had a question there. So that 19 BBY date, we know that he was born by 19 BBY because that was the time, I believe, when Tapoka City was destroyed. So it had to be prior to that year or during that year.
Correct. Yeah, I agree with that. That's definitely true. All of the clones were made sometime between episodes 1 and episodes episode 3, or a little after episode 3. But any final thoughts on Wookiepedia, Jordan? Anything you want to get to the masses about how this thing works before we move on with the show?
Well, the main thing I always tell everyone is that it's an encyclopedia that anyone can edit. So if you want to contribute to Wookiepedia, if you want to help the site grow, or even if you want to just come hang out, you're more than welcome to. There is no rules on joining. Just, don't vandalize the site.
I would go in there and put Darth Vader was like some schmuck who just kind of, delved his way into the dark side and blah, 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 blah. Nah, that's an awesome community to have. And the fact that is such an open community, and it is still very true to the series, true to the franchise, and all of the information that I've ever read on this site is accurate. That's a testament to the community that you guys have built over 18 years, 17, 18 years. So that's amazing.
I think honestly, one of the coolest things that I just absolutely love seeing is we'll get people that will come in with, not the greatest grammar, not the greatest writing skills. And then just over the course of a year, you just get to watch someone get molded and learn how to do this. And they end up taking these skills onto their real world jobs. These are skills that'll help them in their real world career.
Right. That is amazing. So not only is Wookiepedia changing the Star Wars fan base, not only are they giving you guys accurate play-by-play, show-by-show information, they are also gearing people up for their real-world careers, and that's awesome. I applaud you guys. That's an amazing work.
Honestly, at this point, I think probably half of my resume is to do with things that I have learned on Wookiepedia and on the fandom platform, to do with anything from social media management to community management, writing, copy editing. It's just endless skills.
Amazing. Awesome. Well, that's going to end our interview with Wookiepedia. And I'm sure sometime in the future I'll have them back on because, of course, it's Wookiepedia. They're the Star Wars authority on everything. And I'm gonna maintain that opinion for the rest of my life. But keeping Jordan on.
One thing I do want to just point out also, I just want to read the comment that I just posted there in the chat. That's that whilst one person might not like something about Star Wars, somebody else will, and that's totally fine. If someone can find inspiration in what you personally dislike, that's totally fine as well.
Yeah.
The important thing is we all like this universe in some capacity.
Yeah. And I can agree with that because, like I said, I'm not the biggest fan of the sequels. There's things that I don't like about certain shit. There's little things that's not too huge, but I don't let that separate me from the fans. That's something I don't want to distance myself from other people who like Star Wars just because I didn't like a certain plot point or didn't like a certain show. It's okay to like those things, and people who like the sequels and people who like that, I understand why you like that. Okay. I'm not going to hate on you for liking that because we all are fans of different things. There's things that we all want to see in Star Wars. Everyone has their kind of headcanon, right? Everyone has their kind of the way the story goes outside of what we see. And to not like someone else or to kind of put someone else down in the Star Wars community just because they like something that you might not like, that's ridiculous. And I'm going to say that from now until forever. If you like Star Wars in any capacity, Dork Wars, the podcast is for you. The Red 5 Network, that we're a part of, is for you. Star Wars is for everyone. There's something that you're going to like in Star Wars. I don't care who you are. And if there's fans out there who down you for liking other things, that's their problem. That's not your problem. So No, that's a fine sentiment to have, Jordan. I really agree
that's
with
one of the
that.
big ones that I've been trying to really push on our social media accounts, is that the only rule to being a fan is that you like Star Wars. That's it.
Yeah, because I mean, these shows are all kind of, they're polarizing ever since the sequel trilogy, even the prequels. I mean, there's people who hate the prequels, but now people are kind of warming up to them, you know. And of course, I've always loved them. That's what I grew up with. I grew up with the prequels. I watched the original trilogy before that, but when I was a kid, on the cutting edge of technology was the prequel trilogy. So I have a soft spot for those movies. And other people, man, they want to tear people down for liking the sequels, or tear people down for liking these shows. You know, the Book of Boba Fett, that's a big one. You know, some people are like, oh man, I love the way they portray Boba Fett. He's this, that, the other. And there's other people who are like, I hate Boba Fett. I totally hate Boba Fett. That's the worst thing. He's supposed to be like bad to the bone, the biggest, you know, coolest guy ever. And those people would fight. I'm part of different Facebook groups, and people just get into it about this stuff. And I'm like, you guys like the same thing. Like, find the common ground. You both like Boba Fett, maybe not for the same reasons, but you at least like him.
Exactly.
And people, they just choose not to come together. So, and that's a problem we're probably going to face from now to the end of time. That's how it is. Every fandom, I'm sure. But check out Wookiepedia. I hate to say it like that, because everyone in this chat has probably checked out Wookiepedia.
I would hope so. If you haven't, though, please come check us out. Come check out our Discord. Come send us a message on social media. Heck, if you see something on Twitter that you think we would enjoy, tag at Wookofficial.
That's right. That's right. And they're friends of ours on Twitter, friends at Red 5. You can find them on our chat. You can find them if you type in Wookiepedia anywhere, you'll find them. And look, Jordan, I know that you were on Scare Scuttlebutt podcast a couple weeks ago, and I was in that chat. I don't know if you remember what I said.
I do.
In that chat. And I want to know, man, the Luke and Leia kiss, like, what's going on with that? Like, I chatted Mark Hamill on Twitter. He's never answered me. And I'm just a little upheavaled by that. And that's okay. I get it. I'm sure he gets that question 10 times a day, but
I've seen the amount of times a day that he gets pinged half the time by us. I can't blame him for not catching everyone.
That's right. I don't blame him either.
It is fun to bug him, though. I will say that
it's fun. I'm sure he's bugged all the time.
He's one of those guys he's just a genuinely nice guy. He just likes making people smile.
He does. He loves the fandom, and that's something that I like reading his tweets, because he is all about the fans. And he's done so much since Star Wars, but yet he still clings to the Luke Skywalker character. I mean, he is Luke Skywalker. That was his first humongous role, and he will forever be my Luke Skywalker, at least. All right, so let's bring in some of our other guests. I have Don Della Snooch from the Escape Pod. What's going on, Don?
Hello there.
General Don.
How we doing?
General Della Snooch.
Quite well, thanks.
I heard we were going to talk Star Wars.
Oh, dude, I mean, this is Dork Wars, and that's kind of a riff on Star Wars. Yeah, we're talking Star Wars, man.
All right.
And we'll bring in Sam. Vera Sam is still with us. Good to have
Sam.
you in the chat.
What's up?
Awesome. So I'm just gonna forego the news tonight, because we have done so many interviews. We have so much news. There's an alien in my toilet. Wookiepedia. Like, I feel like I got so much going on Dork Wars Live tonight. I don't even know if I really comprehend how much I got going on. But before we get into the main topic, I do know that Dork Wars the podcast has a merchandise store.
Merchandising? What's that? Merchandising. Come, I'll show you. Open up the store.
So Dork Wars the podcast has a merchandise store. You know, we have Dork Wars the coffee cup. We have Dork Wars the hoodie. Dork Wars the t-shirt. We even have Dork Wars, the lighter fluid, where you can blow up your enemies and just make them feel everything that you have felt in your entire life. I'm just kidding. We don't have that. But Darth Vader does, and we'll talk about that in a moment. But you can check us out on dorkwarspodcast.com. You can find the links to our merchandise store, our YouTube page, which you're on right now if you're watching this, or if you're watching this after we've recorded it. You can find every streaming channel that we are on. We release an audio podcast every single week that has the latest in Star Wars and other geeky news, MCU, DC, Harry Potter, just anything that you want to listen to. We probably have it on Dork Wars. So check that out. And check out the merchandise store. If you like wearing Dork Wars, if you like our show, just check out the merch store, buy a t-shirt, a hoodie, something, and wear Dork Wars wherever you go. Dork Wars, the podcast, is also a part of a network. And this network is probably the best sci-fi, fantasy, anything network you could be a part of because we have everything. And, of course, I'm talking about the Red 5 Network.
This podcast is part of the Red 5 Network. For more Red 5 Network podcasts, visit red5network.com.
So I like to talk about the Red 5 anytime I go on YouTube because the Red 5 Network is a part of everyone. And, everyone that listens to these podcasts have a connection, right? And we're all good podcasters. Don Delasnooch is on from the Escape Pod.
Don't lump me in with that.
I have to. You were one of the flagship podcasts. The Escape Pod is part of the Red 5 Network, and no matter how much they try to disassociate themselves.
Oh no, I don't want to be associated with being a good podcast. That's not what we do here.
Oh man, I'm laughing and joking with you guys the whole time. You want to talk about real people? Go to the Escape Pod. I've never been on a realer podcast in my life. But the Red 5 Network, it's not just about good podcasters. It's about good people. People like Don Delasnooch and Brady, his co-host, who is not in the right side of the screen like normal. Come on, Don. Or excuse me, Brady. Don's here.
That's why I just piled the Coronas up. They just take his place.
It's got the same effect. But the Red 5 Network is great people. Not just great podcasts, great people. We all talk in our little chat and we encourage one another. We talk about our days. We do all this great stuff. And then we come on these podcasts and we talk about Star Wars and we talk about Marvel. And we talk about DC and we talk about Harry Potter. And we talk about all these other different geeky, crazy things. And you guys listen. And that's what we enjoy. We love talking to you guys. So the Red 5, we like talking amongst ourselves, but we like talking to you guys too. So keep on with your support of the Red 5. There's a Red 5 bio link. John Tolley, new to our chat. I've never seen him in our chat, so welcome. Red 5 is awesome. Yes, Red 5 is awesome. We can thank Ro for that. He's amazing. Scare Scuttlebutt podcast, if you don't know. So check us out, Red 5 Network on Twitter. Go at Red 5 Network on Twitter, and we got a bio link that has all the Red 5 podcasts. And there is something that you're going to like on those podcasts. So we really thank you guys for listening. Before I move into our main topic, though, I want you to like our stuff. Like this show, like this stream that we're doing right now. Subscribe to our page. I've even made a little video thing now. So just like it. Yeah, hit the like and subscribe button.
That's very clever. I like that.
More, just like it and subscribe to it. That was a fever dream of mine. I had a dream about that and I made it. No, I'm just kidding.
That's great.
If anyone on the Red 5 wants to borrow that, I'll send it to you. Just like and subscribe. We would love to like and subscribe to all of this. So we're going to be talking about Kenobi tonight. And these are two very good episodes. I think every episode has been good. But tonight we are talking Obi-Wan Kenobi, episodes 3 and 4.
Punch it! my mind's eye. Kenobi. Kenobi!
So Kenobi,
I was really hoping we were going to get the Sam Witwer Kenobi in there.
we did. He did it.
I approve.
I wish he did it live though. I need him on the show. That is an amazing man. I love that guy. But we are talking Kenobi episodes 3 and 4 tonight. To start off, I want to get everyone's general thoughts on these episodes, rather. So let's go to you first, Don. What do you think of Kenobi episodes 3 and 4?
Refresh my memory. What happened in 3? That was the Underground Railroad episode, essentially,
Underground
right?
Railroad and Vader beating the crap out of Obi-Wan.
You know, I really enjoyed that. I'm a little confused about the end where Vader kind of just lets him walk away. But I guess I get that if he wants to continue to torture him. I really enjoyed 4 quite a bit more, because I'm an Empire guy. Like, that episode is all wall-to-wall Empire stuff.
It is.
And I just enjoy the darker side of Star Wars.
Yeah.
Very impressed so far.
Yeah, I am too. And I will tell you, Don, you might be on like the unpopular opinion list, man. I know a lot of people loved episode 3 and we're kind of like, about episode 4. But this is coming from the guy that doesn't like beef jerky. So I'm
right.
Whoa.
Yeah.
No, don't attack him. I've attacked
Put
him
that
enough.
right in your pedia. I'm not
I'm
into it.
sorry. So when Wookiepedia does a article on Don DeLaSnooch from the Escape Pod, you put in there that he does not like jerky.
Yeah. No chewy meat for me.
No, not at all. Samuel, sir, what do you think of episodes 3 and 4 of Obi-Wan Kenobi?
I was glad in episode 4 Leia stopped running. That was bothering the heck out of me. I was like, she has the smallest little legs and he can't catch her. He has the Force. Just stop it. I was like, what are you doing? So it's like she's constantly running. I said, what's wrong with you? But I did believe I was a little. I thought the fight scene with Vader and Kenobi should have played out a little more. It was ironic that he was burning him the way he got burned. He wanted to feel the same pain that he had. But again, what was the character's name? Tala, when she runs back for Kenobi and leaves Leia. I was like, are you kidding me? She's the most important part of this story, and you're gonna leave her?
And the most vulnerable part at that. She's not only the most important, but vulnerable. She's a little girl.
Exactly. And she left there. I was like, you're killing me here. You're killing me here. I enjoyed. I mean, I just love Star Wars. I'm not the guy that's gonna go in and rip every single thing. I just like the entertainment value of it. But there were some things I think Leia just needs to just chill out, and Kenobi needs to just realize that he is a badass and he needs to start using the Force.
That's right. I can agree with that. He's coming into his own.
Yes.
This is. I like to say this about this show. This is a character study of Obi-Wan Kenobi. You know, if anything else, is just a character study of who he is in this time period, and they're doing a great job of that. So, Jordan, I see that you've changed your name on here as Supreme Emperor of Wookiepedia Administrator. I don't know if you're making a power play here or what. This is not the place to do it. There's not 5 people watching, but I'm cool with it.
I figured it's probably best to actually use the name that you can actually find me on the site as, since I've just invited all the viewers to come chill with us. Might help if you can actually find who you're talking to.
Hey, John Tolley makes an interesting point. It's kind of hard to feel that our lead characters are in a lot of danger. And like I responded to him, it's kind of the nature of watching prequel content. Watching episode 1, 2, and 3, we were like, yeah, we know this guy becomes Darth Vader and that Obi-Wan doesn't die. And
that's right. It's the same thing, but you want to know how they get there. I mean, it's a good story, right?
Yeah. We're going on the ride, but it's hard to feel that intense peril
Yeah.
when you already know the character makes it out.
Right.
It's like somebody spoiling the end of a movie for you.
Yeah. It's really like the only thing that I can think that really bothers me is like I know where most of these characters end up. Obviously, we don't know about Reva. She's like the only character we don't know about because
Yeah, we've really
all
got
the
nothing
other
about her yet beyond just what we've seen on screen. There's not a lot of actual like background.
We know the
is it-
Grand Inquisitor survives.
Yeah. We know that the fifth brother survives. We know that all of those characters are in Rebels. We know that. But Jordan, I do want to come to you. What are your initial thoughts on Kenobi episodes 3 and 4?
I actually enjoyed the fact that in 3, Obi-Wan wasn't that overpowered Jedi Master that we've seen in earlier forms of media. This is several years of him just chilling on a desert world. His skills aren't going to be what they were, and I think that was a really interesting thing for them to show.
Yeah.
And then in 4, you get to see that moment where he starts to reconnect with the Force and remember who he really is at heart.
And that's one of the biggest things of this show is that Obi-Wan has not been like sitting in his hut like practicing Jedi stuff. Like he hasn't been like using the Force to do this or that. Like he has literally just cut himself off. He is chilling on this desert world, making sure Luke's not getting like sauteed up by the Empire, and that's it. That's all he's doing. He's not doing all this crazy stuff, and we see that in this series. And I think that's one of the things that people were like, I thought we were going to see Obi-Wan like do all this crazy Jedi stuff. Well, they're making a parallel between Obi-Wan Kenobi and Luke Skywalker in The Last Jedi. I mean, that's apparent to me. They both have kind of lost hope. They've both kind of like cut themselves off from the Force. But I really like the way that they're portraying Obi-Wan versus the way they are portraying Luke Skywalker in the sequel trilogy. And part of it is we have a lot more screen time with Obi-Wan kind of dealing with this. So he kind of has more time to kind of, oh, I'm doing this, but I shouldn't be, and I should reconnect with the Force, blah, 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 blah. And, of course, with Luke Skywalker, we have part of a movie to kind of like say, oh, no, he doesn't connect with the Force anymore. And, oh, wait a minute, he's going to now. So there's a definite character kind of comparison, but I think they've done Obi-Wan a better justice, if you will. So what do you guys think about that? Anybody wants to talk about that?
This keys into a popular film and video game trope that people seem to like. You meet a character that has all these powers. You take away all those powers, and then you watch them regain their powers. Everybody likes it. You get the triumphant yes moment at the end when he becomes powerful again.
Right.
It's basically the entire plot line of every Metroid game. Like,
yeah,
Samus is super strong. Oh, Samus lost everything.
Yeah.
Oh, she could be a ball again.
She'll get there.
She'll get there.
Joker Voice is in the chat. He's saying, so Kenobi has hidden his lightsaber in sand and cut himself off from the Force, but is going to protect Luke without his two most powerful weapons.
Also,
I kind of get that.
I think the thing is, though, with that, he knows that he's not going to protect Luke by being a Jedi Master. He's going to protect him by just being there to watch over him. He can't realistically show up with a lightsaber and use the Force to cut down everything that's going to be a danger to him. That's just going to draw attention.
Right.
He would be more dangerous that way.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. He has to do it in a way that isn't being a Jedi.
And that's the struggle I don't think people get. Like I said before, people were thinking like we're going to get like total master Obi-Wan just dealing force damage and lightsaber damage to everybody that comes up to Luke, blah, 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 blah. And that's not what we're getting. We're getting a character study of Obi-Wan. Like, this isn't just about him being powerful with the Force and not just about his lightsaber skills. It's about him as a character and his methodology, his theology, even in the Jedi, like, kind of realm of things. Like, he's questioning the Jedi in these times. Like, we see that. What do you think about that, Sam? Sam, what do you think about Obi-Wan in this time period? Is it a character study of him or just like, oh, yeah, he's supposed to be this action power god?
I think it is. It's like the study of just humanity. I think it's what do you do when you're trying to run away from your past and not attract attention to you. I mean, just I think put yourself in his position when he turned away the Jedi that was looking for aid, right?
Yeah.
Knowing that this guy's gonna get killed, right? And you
Right.
and he made a decision to not intervene. That must, I mean, the nightmares that he must have at night, and I mean, he's already, um, torturing himself with what happened to Anakin, so
Yeah.
all those things play on his mind, and he has to try to protect Luke, knowing that any move he makes, any wrong decision he makes, can go south.
Right.
And his world just gets turned upside down with the whole Leia thing. So, and now he's forced into a situation that he's been running from. So I think it's interesting to watch.
Yeah, he's really in this place. He's kind of caught in the middle. Like he's been with Luke for the past 10 years, just watching over him, making sure nothing's happening. And then Leia comes in, and this is like the kind of spoke in this series that we didn't expect. I know we had a casting for young Leia, but we didn't know that she was going to be such an integral part. And she rocks Obi-Wan's world.
Yeah.
I mean, that's kind of how it goes. He has to go save her. He finds her, and he's kind of chauffeuring her around the galaxy, which he does. This is kind of like a reverberation of a lot of these other series. We have the Bad Batch, where the Bad Batch are kind of carrying Omega around the universe, and then we have the Mandalorian, where the Mandalorian is taking baby Yoda Grogu around the universe. Blah blah blah. That's kind of been the theme for us for a little bit. But with this series, it really, I wish they would have done it first because I like the way they're doing it. I like the way that Obi-Wan kind of puts himself into Leia, and Leia kind of puts herself into Obi-Wan. They complement each other so well in a way I don't think that any other series has done so far. So what do you think of those relationships? Don, what do you think of that?
I got to tell you, I was knee deep in the chat. Explain to me what you just said.
In true Escape Pod fashion.
Yeah, I'm always in the chat.
Yeah, I don't blame you, man. Dude, they talk more than we do sometimes. But Obi-Wan and Leia's connection to each other, their relationship. What do you think about what do you think about that compared to like the Bad Batch and Omega or Mandalorian and Grogu? How do you think this series has treated that relationship?
I'm enjoying the way that they're developing that, and I kind of get the impression that they probably have a deeper connection than most. You had Obi-Wan standing there at the moment that Luke and Leia were born. He was still connected with the Force. They were both Force sensitive, so as they entered the world, I'm assuming the presence of the Force connected them all. So there's probably a sense of feeling at home in each other's presence. So I'm kind of digging the way she's feeling some shelter, some comfort, and just being around him. Like I don't know if that's her intention, but that's the way I'm reading it.
Well, she even when they had that conversation in episode 3 about, "Are you my dad?"
Right.
And he says, I wish I could tell you I was. Like
that's because her mom was hot.
Yeah, she was. And I know it's deeper than that, but at the same time, Padme was a good. It's Natalie Portman. God,
right.
Like,
yeah.
So we actually made a TikTok. This is a plug for Dork Wars TikTok. There's a TikTok where we have that interchange where Leia says, "Are you my dad?" And he says, "I wish I could say that I was." And then it literally goes to the song. I'm never gonna dance again. That ba da 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 da. It's just pictures of Leia in his mind. I made that myself, and I still watch it and I laugh.
Yeah, that's good. That's good. Never gonna dance again.
Feet ain't got no rhythm, right? And yes, her mom was hot, but they just have this connection because Obi-Wan was there when they were born. He has that connection to her mom, to her dad. Even in like that second episode when Obi-Wan's telling her like you're a mommy of someone, and he starts like kind of lamenting about Padme. It's like at the same time she's very Anakin like. She might be Padme like, but she's very Anakin like. She can use the Force. She kind of like reaches into people's souls and takes out what they feel about themselves and breaks it. Like she's very much both of them in one. And this casting of Vivian Lyra Blair has been amazing. She does an amazing job as young Leia. But that connection, they've done it in a way that I really haven't seen in other shows. So I like it. So Jordan, what do you think about the Obi-Wan? What do you think about it in series?
I'm sorry, you cut it for a second there.
Oh, so I'm just asking you about the Obi-Wan Leia connection. What do you think about their relationship?
I think it's an interesting direction to go, and it gives a lot more meaning to the fact that Leia named her son Ben.
Yeah.
That it's, when she's at this young, impressionable age, he's that figure that's there helping her.
Yeah. And I was kind of wondering the same thing. Like when I watched the sequel trilogy, you see Kylo Ren come out and he's this big bad dude. It's like, oh no, his name's Ben Solo. And it's like, well, why would they name him Ben? Like Leia interacted with Obi-Wan 0% of the time during A New Hope. Han knew him for a little bit, but he was just kind of a cheeky butthole. Like he was just, he was just this guy that helped us get to the Death Star. That was literally his role. And why would they name him Ben? And this really gives a good context for that. And I like that they expound upon their relationship. There's something I wasn't looking for. I really wasn't looking for Obi-Wan and Leia connecting on this level. I was looking for Obi-Wan being a bad to the bone Jedi master, doing what needs to be done, taking out whatever threat comes to Luke. I was looking for him maybe going to other planets doing this or that. But on the whole, this is the last thing I expected. And even though Star Wars has done this for the last couple of shows they've done, I still didn't see it coming, but it's refreshing. I like the relationship. Sam, do you like the relationship between Obi-Wan and Leia?
Yeah, I think it's. I think in the beginning you can tell that he was frustrated that he had to, but then I think more and more he grows. He feels obligated to make sure that she's safe, and then she's wise beyond her age. I mean, you think you're looking at Yoda in a female's body. It's just
100%.
I'm like, seriously? I said, how smart? How old are you? But yeah, I think you watch their relationship just evolve, and it's almost like father daughter type thing. It's good to see.
It really is a father daughter kind of relationship. And I guess that's why she asks him, are you my dad? Blah, blah. And that scene kind of broke me. And that scene where he compares her to her mom, that really took me for a ride, man. I was like, no, this is like the saddest thing I've ever seen, because he's remembering Padme through this little girl, and he knows her mom, but he can't tell her about her, and I can't imagine the pain that he's going through, and that's why I say this is a character study of Obi-Wan, because it's not all about the action. We have some of the action, and that's great, but it's really like, who is Obi-Wan? What is he feeling about these characters in this time? And I think that's something that Star Wars struggles with. It's not if it's not about the action, what is it about? And I think they've done a good job in this series doing that. But I kind of want to turn to one of the more action-packed scenes, or a couple of scenes. Let's talk about like Obi-Wan versus Vader in that third episode. It was a roller coaster, right? So, Jordan, do you think that Obi-Wan's a wuss, or do you think that he is doing the best he can? Or what is your kind of breakdown of the Obi-Wan Vader fight at the end of episode 3?
I think they honestly nailed what he would have done in that situation, because this is 10 years later. He's just very bluntly learned that Anakin Skywalker is alive.
Yeah.
He's just had this, shocking revelation. So not only are his skills kind of waning from 10 years in the desert, he's just had this massive panic attack that Anakin Vader is alive. And now he suddenly has to go up against him and, confront all that pain that he's repressed over the years.
Yeah.
To quote him from Revenge of the Sith, "You're my brother, Anakin."
And these are feelings he kind of like came to terms with, right? He killed Anakin. That's what he thought. And now he's faced with, no, Anakin's very much alive, and now he's a very, very bad guy and can kill me. I mean, he's been connected through the Force in the backside, or in the dark side, backside. What am I saying? This is not escape pod. I can't say in the backside. That's PG. That's PG-13. But he's very much in the dark side, and he can kill Obi-Wan. Like, Obi-Wan is just struggling to be alive. And I like seeing this scene. I like having that tension, because it's not all about the fighting, because the fighting isn't very acrobatic. It's more akin to the original trilogy kind of fighting, where there's heavy blows from Vader and Obi-Wan's very defensive. He's kind of running away, like we see kind of Luke does in the Empire Strikes Back. He's kind of defending, just being on the outskirts of the battle at first, until he like tries to get burned up by Vader. But the tension in this fight, the stakes, like the feelings between these two characters, is what really drew me to this fight. Sam, what do you think about that? What do you think about the tension between these two characters?
You forget. It brought me back to that scene where Anakin is basically burning alive, and it was such a horrific scene. And he forgot about the pain that he's been carrying along. And the last thing he's seen was Obi-Wan, right? And that was the last encounter he had before he became this robotic thing. So that anger, you felt it. Like there's no talking. There's no remedy. It's, you're going to pay for what you did to me. And so I felt that, and then Obi-Wan's, he's kicking himself because his failure. Like he feels like he let him down. He failed him. That's his biggest failure in life. And so he's struggling with that, which is why he's taking such a whooping, because he's still at odds with that whole thing. He hasn't come to terms with it. He hasn't put it to bed. So I felt the drama and the pain in that. I was just glad he got away. I was like, because it's it does. I was like, there's no way out of this one, buddy. So it's interesting to see how it plays out in the foreseeable future.
And Vader is ruthless.
Yes.
In these scenes, like we open up on him just killing citizens, like he's choking them and he's crushing them and he's doing this and he's doing that. This is the most ruthless Vader I've ever seen, because we've seen him in Rogue One do a similar kind of thing, right? But he was fighting the other side. He was fighting the rebellion.
Yeah.
In this show, he's just killing citizens to draw out Obi-Wan. It's a much darker tact and a much more just, it's sad, man. Like he's killing innocent people to get Obi-Wan out there. And it's a much darker Vader. Don Della Snooch, what do you think about Darth Vader in this show so far? Like his ruthless, what do you think about that?
This is the Vader that me and my friends played with our little 3.5-inch figures. Like when we were kids, man, Vader would just cut people up and not care. So the image of Vader that they were trying to portray in the original trilogy is what we're watching. You just couldn't do that kind of vicious imagery in 1982.
Yeah.
But this is exactly the way most of us old timers envision this character to be.
Yeah. And
So it's just, it's just fun to watch. It's like they're playing with our toys.
Yeah. they're in the sandbox that we were in, and they have the Darth Vader and Obi-Wan
Right.
characters, and they're just.
Yep. Exactly.
I
Exactly.
feel like I feel like Obi-Wan would have came out a little bit better, at least if we were playing toys when we were kids. But I do love it. I like seeing the contrast between these two characters. Obi-Wan is very steeped in his failure. Like he's so much into himself in the series, and I get it. I mean, he's had 10 years to kind of dwell on it. Dude, I was a part of the Jedi. They failed. There's a Sith Lord in the Senate the whole time. Like, we didn't even see it. And then I failed Anakin. He's part of the dark side. And Anakin's apprentice, Ahsoka, now she's out there doing, I don't even know where she's at because, she went on her own path because of the Jedi. They suck. And everything we thought about, like everything that he thought and felt had to be tainted. Have you ever felt like everything you've ever believed in, everything that you've ever worked for was for nothing? And that's where Obi-Wan is. And all of these people who are like, this show sucks, Obi-Wan should be blah, 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 blah. No, dude, Obi-Wan has been crapped on his entire existence at this point because everything he felt and believed is wrong. So, I can't, I like the way that this show's going in a way that some of the other shows, I've liked stuff about all the other shows, but this one really clicks in for me because I think they've done a great job with the Obi-Wan character. Everything he's felt, everything he's going through is very human.
And you can really see also when, and this is a testament to you and just what an amazing actor he is, when Vader pops up and says, I am what you made me. You can see that moment on his face where he just breaks.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
He really does. Like, he feels that. He feels that in his soul. I am what you made me. Like, I mean, how do you even describe the pain that this guy's feeling? That he has created one of the most incredibly savage monsters in all of galactic history. I mean, Vader, other than Palpatine, I think Palpatine takes the cake on most manipulative, crazy guy.
But I don't know that he's as savage as Vader.
Well, he delegates it out. That's his thing. He's like, hey, man, you go take care of this. But Vader is very much on the boots, on the ground. Let's do it. I'm going to do it myself. I'm going to choke these guys out. I'm going to kill this guy and this guy and this guy. I'm going to do it my way.
A lot of times the generals that are put in place by bad leaders are far worse than the leaders themselves.
Yeah.
You look at the Nazi regime, some of the guys that were out doing things were probably way worse than Hitler really was.
Yeah. And that's crazy. That's crazy to me, man. But Vader depicts this very, very well. He comes out there and he just starts snapping at killing everybody. And even in the 4th episode, he's got that same kind of thing. Like, he doesn't even care if it's his guys or the bad guys. Like, he's got Reva up by the throat, gonna kill her because she let Obi-Wan get away.
I wanted that so bad. I wanted that so bad. I don't know why I don't like her character. Me and Brady been talking about this quite a bit. Something about that character that I'm ready to watch him snap her neck.
Yeah.
I like almost every other character in this whole series, and for some reason that one just don't catch me right. I'm sure it's not the actress. I'm sure it's the writing, but
yeah. And I think she's doing a good job of portraying the character. I know we know all the other characters in this series, every single character. We know what's happening with him. We know Owen's going to go on to be a moisture farmer and get burned up by the stormtroopers. We know that Obi-Wan's going to give advice to Luke and die on the Death Star. We know that Darth Vader is going to go on and survive until he's, hurt by putting Palpatine in the thing. We know everything is going to happen.
Yeah.
Except for with Reva. And her character really started out very, I don't know, just not relatable, weird, and even her motives didn't make sense to me. I know she wants to get Kenobi, but why? And I know we're going to find that out over the course of the series. Little girl says we're not supposed to like Reva. She's a bad guy.
That's not what I mean. I respect her as a villain in this show. That's not what I'm talking about. There's just something about the character that it just doesn't do
Because
it for
Vader,
me.
we're not supposed to like Vader. He's the bad
Right.
guy, but
He's a bad guy.
Everybody loves Vader. I mean, everybody loves him.
There's something.
70,
It's
77. Everybody loves him.
there's a little Rose Tico or something in it that is just like you almost had something and you just missed it. And like I said, I think it's in the writing. I don't think it's in the character. I think she's doing fine. She's probably doing better than everything they're asking her to do. There's something about it that just catches me funny. And Brady, on the other hand, is like, this is the best thing ever. Can't wait till she has her own show. You know, I'm going to watch it twice. I'm like,
And it seems like, from what I heard, man, there's some rumors that she's going to get it. I don't know though. I don't know.
That's where I'm at. I'm like, I just don't see any there.
Yeah. So Sam, what do you think about the Reva character? Do you like what they're doing with her?
I think she has 9 lives. She's a slippery fox. I don't understand how she somehow finagles her way through the entire. I mean, everything. The fifth brother said how many times he's going to make her pay, and he hasn't done anything yet. He just shrugs his shoulders and walks away. I'm like, what's up with that?
Yeah. That's
like,
not Vader.
It's like you killed you killed the Inquisitor, and there's no retaliation. Vader gave her a second chance, but he almost snapped the neck. I didn't understand. I was like, how is she getting so many chances? So I'm let it play out. I think any other scenario she would have been gone a long time ago because Vader doesn't have patience.
Look at Captain Neater. I mean, he's
yes.
Dude, he Skype calls that guy and chokes him out over like Skype call. That's crazy.
Yes.
Yep.
And somehow Reva survives. Like what?
Yeah.
Maybe that's why that might be the thing. Like, she has crossed everyone in this show, and she seems to be, as far as force powers go, the weakest among them.
Yeah.
Like,
It's even stated she's the worst Inquisitor.
Right. She has that ability to, get up in your mind, but like the one dude just lays her out on the table without even lifting his hand. He just is like, well, now you're on the table. Shut up. So I just don't understand why all these other characters are bowing to her insolence, so to speak.
Yeah.
Like, and that might be the thing. Like, if we're really trying to tap into what I don't care for about this character, it might be that. I don't understand the motivation of everyone around her.
Yeah. And I get it. I get that. I see General Shinobi puts in the chat, without conflict, there's no story. This is for dramatic effect. I personally do not like the Reva character. And I think there are people who like her, people who do not. I've seen an overwhelmingly majority that do not care for the Reva character. If I'm going to be honest, she's growing on me. Like episode 4 kind of took her a little bit more in the positive direction.
That's because we didn't have so much of her.
Yeah, and she kind of gives her story a little bit. She's battling with Leia. I think we get a lot of good background on her, but at the same time, it's like, I still don't get why you're so big and bad in the Inquisitors. Like, why are you next in line? And a big thing of that is we don't know where her character goes. We know where the fifth brother's at. We know where I can't remember the other chick that's in there, but we know her character survives the Rebels. We know that most of these characters survive beyond this series. We don't know about her. And what we've seen is she's kind of bottom of the barrel. So what is so intriguing about this character that Vader is invested in her and no one can touch her? I just don't get that. I think there's potential with her character, but they didn't execute it the way that I would like. And that's kind of one of my biggest, probably my biggest qualms with this series so far. So Jordan, what do you think about the Reva character?
Well, the thing between Reva and Vader, I think, is that she's very much after the same goal as him. And in true Sith fashion, as long as their goals are aligned, they'll work together. But as we saw, the minute that he thinks that she's failing him, he's ready to murder her. But beyond that, she's acting as any Sith would. It's I'm in this for myself. I know what I want. I'm gonna stab anyone in the back I have to get it.
Yeah. I see that, and I get that, but what is her goal? Like,
I think she wants Vader. She wants to take out Vader. I think that I think this is all just a power play to get him to turn his back to her so she can cut him down.
and I've seen that theory a lot, and I could see that. I can totally see that.
I
She's
really
like,
think that she was one of the younglings at the Jedi Temple.
yeah, and I think that's the importance of that first scene. Like, that is the first thing we see in the series. Period. Is those younglings. There's one that looks a lot like her as a younger self, sitting there with all the rest, and then one of those other younglings turns up in the freaking the Jedi tomb place. Right. I could see that, and maybe she does want to just take out Vader, and she's using Obi-Wan. Like, if I can get Obi-Wan, draw him out, and he's fighting Vader, and then me and him can team up. Blah 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 blah. I can see that of her character. And that would be very dark side, just to take out the guy above you so you can have his place. That's kind of the MO of the dark side.
Yeah, because if she could get Kenobi to basically almost kill Anakin, then she could kill Anakin. She could just swoop in, take the kill, and then she would be the Emperor's apprentice by proxy, right?
Yeah. I mean, it seems like, and I don't know. I just see that she's getting there. She's playing. I really hope by the end of the series, like, we have a better light on everything she's done so far. I feel like they can cast a good light on that, but they have to play the rest of this thing just right.
Hey, let's highlight what Chantel's saying in the chat too. People need to lay off Moses Ingram. Like,
100%.
Same. They're doing the same thing to her they did to Rose Tico. What's her name? Maria Tran?
Yeah. Yes.
Something really close.
Yeah.
So, regardless, like, what they did to that woman was absolutely unacceptable.
Jake Lloyd too.
Yeah. Well, I hate what happened to Jake Lloyd, but he was a terrible actor. That's on George.
Dang it, George.
I guess.
I mean,
nobody wanted Jake Lloyd in that spot except George. Like, they tried to talk him out of it multiple times.
Yeah.
That's a whole messed up story there.
Kelly Marie Tran.
There you go.
Tina. Thank you very much.
There's just no excuse for anyone anywhere to attack an actor based on the work of the people that wrote a character. It's nonsense.
If you see me in the next Star Wars film and I'm playing Anakin Skywalker and I really suck at it, don't come at me and be like, man, you were the worst person ever. Like, they cast me for that. That's their fault.
Right.
But on the contrary, I think that Moses Ingram is a good actor. I think she's acting to the best of her ability. Like, it's not like she's writing the script, you know, like, she didn't write her part. I think she's acting well. I just don't think the character has been written well up to this point. The same thing with Rose Tico. I think Rose Tico is not a great character. I think Kelly Marie Tran put everything she had into the character. She did great acting for a badly written character.
Right.
100%. Because I've heard her voice acting in Raya and the Last Dragon. It's a Disney movie. It's a really good movie, and I love the movie. I like her character in that movie. But her character in Star Wars just did not do it for me. That's not to say she's a bad actor or this, that, and the other.
Yeah, she wasn't the problem.
She wasn't the problem. It's the character. It's the way they wrote the character, the direction. That's where it's at.
I think it's because she has no allegiance to anybody but herself. And I think that's what it is. It separates her from everybody. So
yeah,
she's not part of a group. So what is her purpose? What, then what's the purpose of the character, which is very different from the other villains, where they use the surroundings, they manipulate, they sneak in. She's just blatant in her disrespect and disregard for everybody and everything except for her own agenda. So I think that's why it's so easy to hate the character. They should never attack the actress, but it's so easy to say, what the hell up with this character? It doesn't even make sense.
Right.
What's your purpose?
Yeah. And I'm not going to, the character comes at a weird angle for me, but I like the acting. I like what Moses Ingram is putting into it. And even in episode 4, I like the character a lot more than I have in past episodes. Her kind of struggle with Leia is pretty cool. Like, I don't like that. I feel like they should have found out that she's force sensitive. Like, I felt like that was kind of underplayed because Reva couldn't get into her mind. That there's some kind of weird stuff in there. Bad writing. I'm going to give it to bad writing because they should have known she's force sensitive. Let's test her and let's do this and do that. Mm-hmm. And they would have found out she was Vader's daughter had they pursued that.
Right.
But for the sake of plot and continuity, that didn't happen. And I think Moses is putting in everything she can. I think she's doing a great job acting. I just don't like the character.
Yeah, I agree. It seems that if the second she figured out that Leia was force sensitive, she would have, by mandate, had to probably kill her, right?
Yeah.
That's kind of her entire purpose.
Either kill her or turn her to the dark side. Like that's the two
Yeah,
things.
I guess they do try to. Yeah, that's a good point. They do try to convert them before they kill them.
Well, that's very nice of them. Very sweet.
Yeah,
even.
Yeah. Here's your options. You're on our team or dead.
Good guy, Empire. Yeah, little Leia is amazing. I've said this in recent episodes of Dork Wars the podcast and Dork Wars Live. I love Vivian Lyra Blair as little Leia. She's doing a great job. But I do want to talk about the tomb, the creepy tomb that we see in episode 4 of Kenobi. What are your reactions to that? Because it's a little dark. I hate Master Sanube is in there from the Clone Wars. We get the little youngling guy. It was so sad.
My first was just, wait, what?
Yeah.
They have this little mausoleum of just dead Jedi relics.
When we saw who I assumed is Master Sinube, I don't think we've actually got official confirmation on that, but more than likely probably is. I'm thinking to myself, oh, that's a bold choice. And then the youngling, and it's like, wow,
that's really hit home, man.
Oh, that's dark.
Did you guys see that in the command center, all the way around the room is full of all the lightsabers, and then there's a youngling's helmet in there?
Yeah, I didn't catch the helmet. I saw the lightsabers though.
Yeah, clear down at the end. There's a youngling's helmet. You're like, oh, that's dark.
Yeah, man. I mean, we already know that Anakin kind of slayed most of them.
Right.
Which maybe he did. Maybe he just tried to turn them all to the dark side.
Oh man,
I'm not going to do that.
He was playing Beat Saber up in there, dude.
What song do you think he was playing to?
Probably Inner Sandman or something.
Yeah, that's
that'd be great.
And we just made light of that, but that's okay. It's Dork Wars podcast. Who cares? Yeah, it's that's whole scene. Sam, what was your kind of reaction to that?
I think anytime, just the humanity part, you can't help but just grieve for the kids, and wow, they never even had a chance. I think it took me back to that when it was happening in the movie where you saw that one kid that got scared, that the reaction he had when he saw the lightsaber come out, that you can't help but put yourself in that situation, oh my God, and your life is ended before it's even started. So it was a little painful to see.
It was. That scared me a lot. it hurt me a lot just to see all those like Force sensitive and Jedi just all in that is scary. And I wonder what they're doing with them. I know Obi-Wan says it's a tomb, but are they kind of like suspended in life? Or are they like being tested on? Like, what's going on?
It almost looks like they're in amber.
For all we know, it could be a suspended animation of some sort.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm not saying they're dead, but I mean, who knows?
Admittedly, that would be pretty interesting to see maybe him come back and thaw one or two of them out.
Yeah. I think so too. I think it'd be a cool plot concept to kind of explore what he's doing with them. Are they really dead or are they not? I think that'd be a cool plot point.
Well, this would, whatever it would be, it would what, predate Carbonite?
I guess because I know in episode 5 they pretty much talk about like Carbonite suspension hasn't really been done all that much. Like we don't know if he's gonna die or not. Like
right, that was relatively new.
Yeah. So who knows? Like that, maybe it is a precursor to Carbonite freezing. That'd be something else. So one thing that kind of like put me off on this episode. So Obi-Wan has to hit a stormtrooper like 2 or 3 times with his lightsaber before he goes down. But Tala, right? Yeah, the female
Tala
lady that Tala comes in. And I saw her smack a stormtrooper with the palm of her hand, and he goes down. I try not to nitpick these things, but man, she gotta be strong, dude, to be like putting one dude down with the palm of her hand versus a lightsaber.
Well, I think she hit him with the butt of a gun, but still, with a helmet on, probably could have took it.
She smacked one of them.
Did she?
Yeah, I like when she has one on each side, and they're kind of escorting her. She has nothing in her hand. Yeah, right on the head. He kind of goes down. It's weird. It's a weird sequence. It kind of took me out for a minute.
One thing I am wondering, I'm wondering if anyone else caught the two little Legends video game references in episode 4. That being the 2 stormtroopers walking down the hallway, just having some casual banter with each other. Very similar to a moment from, I believe it was Jedi Academy.
Yeah.
And at least to me, when Obi-Wan ignites his saber and cuts down the first stormtrooper, turns it off, and then takes out the second one, that looked very similar to how Galen Merrick did it in the original Force Unleashed 2 trailer.
Yes, it really did. I like that sequence when it's totally dark. You can kind of see the stormtroopers, and we can see Leia in her little thing where she's about to get torched. I like seeing the lightsaber ignites and he just pow pow. He gets the one stormtrooper, and then boom, he gets the other stormtrooper. I like that scene a lot. It does really go back to that scene in the Force Unleashed 2. I like it. I like it a lot.
I really dug how the whole this whole base and tunnel scene and all that is directly out of Fallen Order.
Yeah.
I thought that was really cool.
Even down to it's the same location.
Yeah, it's the same hallway that we see in Fallen Order.
Yeah.
And the floating trooper soup is pretty dope too.
Yeah, I agree. They do a lot to interconnect all of these things, the shows, the games, the everything. And I know we know kind of from Star Wars Celebration and all that the next Fallen Order game, which is called Jedi Survivor, takes place in the same time, with the underground Jedi Railroad, the path and all that. So, I mean, there's a lot of callbacks to that game, even when he's like holding the water back from the window's cracking and the water's about to come in. I like seeing that was a cool callback too. All of that really reminiscent of the Fallen Order game. So Disney's doing a great job of kind of calling back to older references and older media that they've done. So moving on, I know that Diedrich and our podcast, which is going to be released this Monday, our thoughts on Kenobi Episode 4 will be released on Monday, or audio only. But what do you guys think of the snow speeders coming in and saving the day at the end of Episode 4?
I was annoyed that all she needed was a little box to sink it, to destroy it. She just chucked that box in. I was like, the character never had time to play itself out. You couldn't mourn the character because you didn't get to know the character. And the fact that all it took was her to chuck a box at it and made it crash. That annoyed me. But I thought it was too easy. I thought it was too easy for them to escape. I thought, considering the arsenal that they had and the amount of troops and weaponry that those two little ships were, I thought it was just too easy.
I think we're going to find out that maybe Reva had a hand in some of the defenses being kind of light, because we already know the Inquisitors are arrogant. But then she also hit a tracking device in that droid, so she obviously in some capacity expected them to escape.
Yeah.
Which she's then going to use to further her own goals, which as of yet we still don't really know.
And it's very Episode 4 of her to plant a tracking device on the main characters. Leia actually has that happen to her in Episode 4. Same thing. But yeah, those speeders have been called air speeders, I think, for the last couple of years. But back in the day, they were just known as snow speeders.
Right.
And from my understanding, I thought they were kind of like already on the world of Hoth when the rebels kind of came in and
no, because when they were in Echo Base, some of the staff there were saying that they were having trouble adapting them to the cold.
Yeah, they brought them with them.
Okay. So yeah, but seeing these before the original trilogy, because the only exposure we've had to these ships, these vessels so far, has been in Empire Strikes Back and subsequent video games and all that. But I thought it was cool to bring them in here. Like it was a neat choice. I didn't expect to see them. And then when I saw them, like, oh yeah, dude, they got the snow speeders coming out here in the middle of the water and just pow, 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 killing everybody. That was neat.
I thought the CG was a little bit underdone.
Yeah, it was a little wonky looking. Yeah,
but especially in contrast to how good the Reva scene was previously, where Vader had her up in the air. Like that was almost flawless. And then you go into the next scene and they've almost like they patched those in later, which is weird because they're the set piece for the scene.
Right.
But it almost looks like they dropped those in as an afterthought.
Yeah. It does. I can agree with you there, where it just kind of seems like, oh, dude, like the fans would love this. Boom, there it is.
Right.
And Disney does that a lot. They kind of just like throw fan things in there for a split second. Like everyone's like, ooh, there it is. And it's shiny and it's pretty and it's gone. That's it. They do a real good job of that.
And I found it surprising too how close the speeder was to Reva in that one shot. Like it almost looked like if she just jumped forward, she could have hit it with her lightsaber.
Yeah.
And I was like,
and wrecked it. Yeah.
Yeah, like maybe the scaling wasn't right on that shot. And I mean, we're nitpicking now.
Yeah. Oh, this is very, very nitpicky.
Yeah. I mean, I really enjoyed the scene, but there was a couple things in that I was like, I don't know. Maybe another pass on this one might have been a good idea.
Yeah. I agree. So after this scene, we see all this and the one guy dies in a snow speeder. We're not very emotionally attached to him. So it's like, oh no, this guy died.
Oh no.
Oh no.
Oh no.
Charlie bit my finger. But we go back to Vader and Reva, man, and he's got her up and he's gonna kill her, dude. Like, this is it. Like, she's gone. No, she's not gone. She has the chance to explain. No, I hit a tracker on the ship, and it's man. She uses little Lola to track. So was that her plan the whole time? Like, did she know that they were all going to get away? Because she plants that tracker like way early in the episode.
I'm thinking contingency plan of some sort. I mean, she obviously knows that they're going to come for her. She knows she's not going to be able to keep Leia there forever. But putting a tracker on, then you can, even if she doesn't escape and you release her, she's still going to lead you back to other sympathizers.
Yeah.
Yeah, I thought that was kind of revisionist in a weird way. Like, but I guess, I mean, she does seem to be one of the smartest people in the room.
Yeah.
Like she's often ahead of Vader and the whole stroke. So I guess maybe that is her superpower. She's the smart one. She's the Sherlock Holmes of the group.
Yeah. And I think it's a good move. It kind of leads us into the next episode. Now, them getting away doesn't seem as much like a victory, because at first we're like the snow speeders come in, they shoot down everything. Obi-Wan and Leia get away. He's successful, blah, 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 blah. And all of a sudden it's like, well, I mean, I guess it's not that great of a victory because they know where they're at and they're going to come and destroy the path. Like, what? They're going to follow them where they're going.
Yeah. And then Ice Cube's kid's going to get murked, and then then Ice Cube's going to be pissed. All the NWA guys are going to come through. It's going to get bad. Wait till Ice Cube or Ice T shows up.
Oh, it's over.
Yeah. I wouldn't want to be there.
Darth Vader ain't seen nothing like that.
No, I've seen Ice T live. I wouldn't mess with him.
So, wrapping up now, final thoughts on these two episodes. Where do you think it's going? Like a rating. Let's give a rating to this. I love ratings. So 1 out of 10. What do you give these two episodes in conjunction? Let's start with you, Jordan.
Oh, I'm always going to go 10 out of 10 just because I literally just love everything.
Yeah.
But I think that as for where it's going to go, I think we are going to get another Vader Kenobi fight. I think Obi-Wan is going to get the upper hand. Something's going to separate them, and then that's going to tie into the whole "when last we met" scene from A New Hope.
Yeah, I can agree with that. We definitely have to get another fight between them. And he does say, when I left you, I was but the learner. Now I am the master. Something's going to change. Something's going to happen. I'm hoping to see a Qui-Gon. Something. I want to see Qui-Gon so bad.
So this is how I think that goes down. We get the final fight in episode 6. Obi-Wan's got his can kicked. He's on the ground. We get the Qui-Gon lift you up, pep talk. He comes back. He beats the heck out of Vader, and then he says, "You still have a lot to learn of the Force," and that's why. When they split and we come back, he's like, when I left you, I was still the learner. So I think there's going to be a verbal reference to make that line make sense later.
Yeah, and I hope they really tie that in. That's kind of like the linchpin for Obi-Wan is we know that Yoda has tasked him with talking to Qui-Gon Jinn and learning how to become a Force ghost. And up to this point, he hasn't been able to do it. So that has to happen sometime between now and A New Hope. And obviously, it's got to happen in this show. Because if not, I mean, I think that's the whole crux of this show. That's what I wanted to see. Before we even knew what was going to happen in this thing, I was like, he's got to talk to Qui-Gon. He's got to learn to become a Force ghost. And so far, we hadn't got that, which is okay. But it has to happen. So I think either this coming up episode or the next episode, we have to see some Qui-Gon. So Don, since you're already talking about it, what is your rating of these two episodes in conjunction?
I'm at about a 7 for the Underground Railroad episode,
Yeah.
and I was a 9 for episode 4. Like, I really enjoyed, and honestly, like, it took a hit for the CGI kind of stuff at the end, but the Empire stuff is just so good to me.
It is. Kind of seeing how the Empire's internal structure is.
Yeah. That, and the CGI thing and the complete disregard for how a military checkpoint works,
You're right.
I thought was pretty rough too.
She's like, hey, I'm your seniors. I'm just gonna go in. He's like, no,
Yeah.
I'm not gonna check with any. I know there's people that outrank you on this base.
Yeah.
I'm not even gonna check with them. You can.
Yeah,
go
I'm going to have to make a call. You're going to have to wait.
Right. Like, give me 5 minutes. Like, that's all you need. So, Sam, on these 2 episodes of Obi-Wan Kenobi, what do you give these 2 episodes in conjunction? You can rate either one separate or do them both, whatever you want to do, man. What do you think?
I think because it's done a good job of having me speculate and try and guess and figure out what's going to happen, I give it a 10. I think that Reva has something to do with that last battle between Obi-Wan and Vader. I think she's significant to that battle. Whether she switches sides, something happens that I think she's the nail in that whole sequence. And so I'm looking forward to see what happens with that character, because there's something about her that's intriguing. Even as frustrating as her character is, there's something intriguing about her.
Yeah, I can agree with that. There's something there. So, new number wise, what would you give those episodes?
10.
10 out of 10. I like it. and I love Star Wars myself. I like the world building. I think episode 4 gets a lot of flack for being kind of lackluster, and of course after that, like, Obi-Wan Vader fight scene, like all the I mean, the next episode's got to be kind of like subdued. It's just what happens. But I love both of those episodes. So at the end of this, we want to turn this episode over to Master Yoda for the word of the week. And I think we got a fire one tonight. So, Master Yoda, what is the word of the week? That did not sound like anything that I imagined it to.
It sounded like he just flushed, bro.
It's not like a chick.
Yeah, it does. I think we have a bad connection to Dagobah, so we're gonna forgo the word of the week this week.
The word of the week is not good.
Not good at all. That was really messy. So, Master Yoda, if you can hear us in the Force right now, work on that for next time. But that's okay.
Clouded, the word of the week is.
Clouded, the word of the week is. That's right. So, thank you guys for being on. Sam, where can we find you on Twitter, on Facebook, any of your social medias? Where are you at?
Website is dutiesworld.com. On social media, it's Catch the Craze with a DA, not a THE. So on YouTube, Twitch, Facebook, Instagram, Catch the Craze. And there's Nailing on My Toilet on Instagram.
Awesome. Jordan, where can we find you on this World Wide Web?
You can find me on Wookiepedia at Supreme Emperor, and you can probably find me pretty much anytime. I'm there every day. As for the site, you can find us obviously at wookiepedia.fandom.com. You can find us on Twitter at wookofficial, on Instagram at Wookiepedia, and on YouTube, if you search Wookiepedia, you'll find our channel there.
Awesome. And definitely check out Wookiepedia. Of course, all of you people
Yes,
have.
please check us out.
Yeah, I mean, they're probably the most popular people I've ever talked to at this point on this podcast.
We really like this little thing called Star Wars. You might have heard of it.
It's my second most used pedia.
And Don's not going to disclose what the first one is.
Yeah, Pornhub.
Speaking of Don Della Snooch, where can we find you on this crazy thing that we call the World Wide Web?
I am personally at Jetfire1979 on Twitter, but most of the time you'll find me operating at the Escape Pod on Twitter. I'm Della Snooch on Instagram, and you can find me kind of chilling in our Facebook group, ATSW, the Escape Pod.
Awesome. I'm gonna have to follow that. I didn't know.
That's where all the dankest memes are. Like Tina is in there, and she has like the best memes on the internet.
Dang, I'm joining. I'm gonna find it by at least tomorrow. I didn't know you guys are on Facebook. Come on.
Oh yeah, we got a spot.
And of course, you can always find Dork Wars the podcast at dorkwarspodcast.com. Dork Wars Podcast Linktree has all the links to every single streaming platform that we're on. I mean, we're everywhere that you can think of. Listen to the show on YouTube. We have our lives on everywhere else. We have our audio only. So check us out. We thank you guys for listening tonight. Thank you everyone in the chat for sticking with us. I know it hasn't been the best thing ever. You know, sometimes you got to labor with us sometimes to get out all those little nuggets of truth and all that fun stuff. But thank you guys for laboring with us in the chat. Thank you for adding your opinions. It's always welcome, always wanted. Thank you, everyone. And may the force be with you.
Thank you for supporting Dork Wars, the podcast. You can check us out on facebook.com/Dork Wars, the podcast. And if you would like to join in on the discussion or maybe suggest topics for us to discuss, please do so by joining our Discord community or sending us an email at dorkwarspodcast@gmail.com.